Hello everyone! We created a giant terrarium. It's truly giant. It has its own tropical climate ecosystem. It has rain, it has wind, it has fog. It even has its own waterfall. And there are 2 suns in the sky. There is even room for a lake on the ground. We love large-scale projects and have brought them to life more than once. We also love terrariums. But perhaps one of our greatest projects is the giant 1,500-liter terrarium. It took us a very long time to create it. In the beginning was the Word. Since we had never created a tropical ecosystem before, let alone a giant one, we spent a lot of time imagining. Then we transferred all our ideas to paper and did the calculations. Only then did we begin construction and correct the mistakes in the calculations. Today, we will show you the entire creative process, from conception to the first launch. We will also share the nuances, subtleties, difficulties, and problems we encountered. We have already chosen a spot for the terrarium. It will go where the 2 armchairs and coffee table used to be. We removed everything unnecessary. Based on the available space and our measurements, we know the dimensions of our future terrarium. Just as a house starts with a foundation, a terrarium starts with a pedestal. We initially wanted to buy a ready-made pedestal, but we couldn't find the right size, and the custom-made ones were too expensive. So, we bought furniture boards according to the specified dimensions. To ensure that the pedestal could support the future terrarium's weight, I made a metal frame. I bought a profile and cut it to size. I ended up with 20 pipes of 3 different sizes, 4 of which were 2 meters long. The last step was to assemble everything into a single structure according to my drawing. This required welding skills, which I hadn't practiced in years. Nevertheless, I managed to assemble 2 identical frames without any discrepancies. It took some effort though. All that was left was to connect them in a strictly vertical position. The terrarium's foundation is ready. Now, we just need to connect the chipboard panels to the metal frame. We will use neodymium magnets secured with thermal adhesive to attach the cabinet doors. This is the most inexpensive and reliable fastening method. Now, let's move on to the glass part of the terrarium. We will use rigid silicone corners, which are used in shower stalls, to connect the pieces. Since the terrarium is large, its glass panes are 8 millimeters thick and quite big. Each of the 2 rear panes weighs 28 kilograms. Therefore, we decided to assemble it using a construction set principle. As expected, the corner joints are strong and reliable. After assembling the 2 corners, we fastened them with a connecting strip like this, as expected. To prevent the weight of the side panes from bearing down on the bottom, we inserted a pane of glass with a 2 millimeter gap. That's when I realized how much I had miscalculated: 24 millimeters. We moved on to sealing the joints, generously pouring silicone into them, especially in the area where the water part of the terrarium would be. To make the terrarium more rigid, we glued 2 10-centimeter wide strips of the same 8 millimeter thick glass on top. We glued the front stiffener a little earlier, and the guide for the future sliding doors is located there as well. The large opening in the terrarium's ceiling, located in the middle between the stiffeners, is for ventilation, as you might have guessed. For the same purpose, there are 8 50 millimeter openings in the lower part. There are no holes on the left side where the water section will be located. All that remains is to add a dividing partition, and the glass frame will be complete. You can estimate its size by comparing it to a human child. The dimensions of the terrarium are 200 centimeters wide, 140 centimeters high, and 60 centimeters deep. While the sealant is drying, you can work on the ventilation system. For this purpose, we purchased grills and mosquito netting. We cut the mesh around the perimeter of the internal ventilation hole. It turned out like this. We glued the mosquito net onto the silicone and pressed it down gently with our fingers. Then, we install the ventilation in its rightful place, degreasing the connection point first, of course. We also cleaned the glass of excess sealant. Each ventilation grill is in its place, each one, except for one spot on the side of the terrarium. A cooler will be placed there to provide additional air. In addition to the ventilation grills, we glued plastic grills to the glass. In the future, driftwood, stones, and plants will be attached to them when creating the decor. There will also be a waterfall near the water section. We will come back to this issue later. For now, let's check if the part that will be filled with water is sealed. We poured a bucket of water into the aquarium and walked around its perimeter, finding no problems. The bottom is well glued, which is good news. All that remains is to check the vertical seams. One of the back walls was assembled at the corner for shower stalls, and this is the area of greatest interest for leaks. Everything is fine here too though, and nothing needs to be redone. All seams are sealed and there are no leaks. Although the aquarium is quite small compared to the terrarium, it has a volume of almost 100 liters. It's time to drain the aquarium. While doing so, we will also check the submersible pump for the waterfall. Everything is working fine, only the pressure seems high, but that's a problem for the future. Since I made a mistake with the measurements, let's use it to our advantage and lay the communications lines. We will use a corrugated pipe to supply mist and humidify the air. We'll also run a wire from the waterfall pump. We'll also lay 2 more wires, just in case they come in handy in the future. We'll press all of this down with a stone and generously pour silicone around the perimeter. Next, we create drainage. First, we lay down the bottom layer of the future soil. For this, we will use expanded clay, which is light and porous. This creates additional aeration and improves soil air exchange. We poured the first 3 liters. There will be 18 liters total. This will make up approximately 2 to 3 centimeters of the layer. Now, excess moisture will drain down instead of accumulating in the soil. Another advantage of expanded clay is that it is neutral and does not react chemically with plants. I wanted to make the bottom of the terrarium from stainless steel or aluminum instead of glass so that it would be easier to drill holes for necessary wiring. But I abandoned this idea because all alternatives except glass react with moisture, which changes the chemical environment. The drainage layer is now ready, and we will cover it with dense agricultural fiber. This material allows water to pass through while retaining the soil. Now, let's move on to the decor. We have a pile of driftwood, stones, and stumps for that. We've already placed a beautiful stump with a rotten core shaped like a cave on its stand. There will be a layer of soil underneath, so we don't want to completely cover it. This stump came from an apricot tree, and like all fruit trees, it is safe for terrarium inhabitants. All of the driftwood comes from an old grapevine from which all the bark has been removed. We spent a long time arranging and rearranging everything until we got the result we wanted. Near the cave, we have a combination of rock and grapevine coming out of the wall. We also attached plant pots to the clamps. We placed a corrugated pipe for fog right there. The branches will provide future inhabitants with a place to crawl and feel like they are in the wild. We placed another beautiful stump in the waterfall area. Now we just need something from the Netherlands. We need construction foam, but not the usual kind. We need a special kind for aquariums and terrariums. It needs to be shaken for 5 minutes before use. The foam is non-toxic and an interesting shade of black. The main disadvantage of this foam is its price, which is 6 times higher than that of professional construction foam. After applying the foam, it looks like this. I know what it looks like, but please don't describe it in the comments. The foam dried in just a few hours. You can then continue working with it. Remove all the unnecessary, unsightly, protruding parts to create the appearance of a sheer cliff. I can also mention that the foam is quite dense and feels harder than regular construction foam. However, the combination of your hands and a utility knife works wonders. While I wait for my soil order to arrive, I can work on the terrarium, starting with the top ventilation. At the same time, I can properly install the lighting. The lamp is large, powerful, and gets very hot. For ventilation, we ordered a metal mesh with a very fine mesh. You can compare its size to a mosquito net. The mesh is good quality, but it's hard to focus your eyes when you cut it, and it seems like you're hallucinating. I periodically checked the dimensions to stay on track. To secure the mesh, we need sealant and a T-shaped aluminum profile that can be easily cut with metal shears. As soon as I secured the mesh, a guest appeared. At the same time, he became the first inhabitant of our terrarium. Not even the light scared him away. How bold! Now I know what I'll be filing my nails on. By the way, the T-shaped profile secures the mesh and serves as a guide for the lights. Since we're talking about lighting, let's take a look at the terrarium's electrical system. We'll add more in the future, but for now, there are 5 electrical parameters. One of them is rain, which will be automated. The other 4 will be manually controlled: lighting, fog, waterfall, and wind. That's why we need these switches. First, we wipe and degrease the back, then we apply double-sided tape. This attachment method has been tested many times and is very reliable. There is one hole in the glass without ventilation, so we need to take care of it. We will attach a mosquito net to the silicone. On top of that, we place a 12-volt cooler. We placed a switch nearby so that we can control the wind. We implemented the water element through a waterfall. To achieve this, we attached several stones to the mosquito net in a cascading pattern. Each stone was degreased and glued to silicone. It holds securely. This is what the wall where the waterfall will be located looks like before the foam is applied. It's a semi-finished product, so to speak. Water will collect here and then flow through a gutter onto a cascade of stones. Below that, we will place a bowl from which water will pour into the aquarium. We also secured a couple of pots and added a wooden and stone installation. The tree is another fruit tree, this time an apple tree. You may have noticed the bucket of water. It is for final testing of the waterfall. Now, let's move on to creating the terrarium soil. For this, we will need tree fern, peat, sphagnum moss, fine pine bark, and charcoal. I will finely chop the sphagnum moss with a knife. It retains water well, which is necessary in the terrarium to maintain high humidity and prevent mold and other harmful microorganisms from growing. Charcoal serves as an antiseptic and improves air exchange. However, it is better to chop the charcoal outside because it creates a lot of dust. Mix the soil in the following proportions: 1 part sphagnum moss and 2 parts tree fern. 1 part peat. Add 2 parts fine pine bark and 1 part charcoal. This is the original composition of the ABG mixed soil. ABG stands for Atlanta Botanical Garden in the USA. We will use silicone glue to secure the soil to the wall. Black glue is preferable, of course, but I have some transparent glue left, so I won't throw it away. As I've explained, we need sphagnum moss and charcoal. Tree fern is ideal because it doesn't clump together, which ensures air circulation. Plus, it's nutritious and retains moisture. Pine bark mulch helps retain moisture and releases nutrients as it decomposes. Peat is just as useful as tree fern for tropical substrates, but it is 7 times cheaper. After applying the soil, the wall clearly looks much more like the wild. This is especially noticeable in contrast to areas with just black foam. More problems have been discovered. The glass guide should have been covered with painter's tape before work began. Then there would have been no trouble. I smeared silicone on it, and when I wiped it off, I cut myself on the glass. This meant that the glass had to be sanded down. Now everything is covered in dirt, blood, and mess. You could say the terrarium is ready. This is what the final, lifeless version looks like. This is what the side with the waterfall looks like. It has a combination of large stones, small aquarium gravel, ABG mixed soil, and a sandy slope in the water section. There is a sandy shore combined with large stones. At the top of the aquarium is a large flat stone that can be removed to access the waterfall pump. This is what the terrarium looked like before completion in 2 steps. Now, let's move on to the soil and planting. First, we'll install a drainage tube to pump out excess moisture. This is necessary in case any moisture collects at the bottom. Next, remove the pots from the wall. We no longer need them. To prevent the soil from spilling out, cover the holes with sphagnum moss. This will hold the soil in place and retain moisture, which is necessary for tropical plants. The roots of the plants that replace the pots will no longer be limited to the pots. To create the bottom layer of soil, we will need charcoal again. This time, however, do not grind it. Use large pieces instead. This second drainage layer absorbs excess moisture, prevents the growth of harmful microorganisms, and releases nutrients into the substrate. We bought more sphagnum moss for the next layer. Lots of moss. It was fresh and recently harvested in an ecologically clean area, then delivered 500 kilometers away. It was transported ecologically.
But that's not for sure.
Moss is used to create a humid environment thanks to its ability to retain 20 times its weight in moisture. Additionally, sphagnum, a substance contained in moss, has antibacterial properties that should prevent the growth of fungi and mold. Moss is also loved by tropical insects, amphibians, and reptiles that love moisture. After adding fresh green moss, the terrarium transforms, bidding farewell to its lifeless appearance. To create the third layer, pine mulch and soil consisting of 100% organic components are needed. This mixture contains highland, lowland, and transitional peat, biohumus, quartz sand, and agroperlite. First, we mix 25 liters of substrate and 7 liters of pine mulch. Then, we add another 5 liters each of peat and coconut fiber. Then, we mix everything together until it forms a homogeneous mass. All of the components in the soil are 100% organic. This creates favorable conditions for plants and provides an environmentally friendly base for the animals that will inhabit the terrarium. While all fertilizers and chemical additives are beneficial for flora, they are harmful to fauna. The fourth layer consists of the ABG mix remains, with which you are already familiar. This is the kind of landscape design we have. The soil is thinner at the front and slopes upward toward the back wall. It resembles a distant horizon. Unlike the aquarium part, you can see how thick the soil layer is. These conditions will be ideal for tropical creatures that live in the soil. It will also be ideal for the root systems of future plants that have only known life in pots. It's also interesting to look at the soil in cross-section. It's like looking at a diagram in a school textbook, only it's not in school, and it's not a textbook. Moisture is perhaps the most important aspect of a tropical terrarium. 2 boxes for automatic watering arrived from China. Inside are 2 nozzles, one of which I am holding. Each nozzle has 2 degrees of freedom, allowing it to rotate 360 degrees in 3-dimensional space. There is also a convenient collet connection. The set includes a T, an elbow, 2 plugs, and 2 nozzles. There is also a knife for cutting hoses. Of course, there is also a programmable brain with a pump inside. There is also a submersible filter for water intake. It all works from a regular USB block. To install it, use a regular drill bit to drill holes in the metal mesh. Then, install the nozzle. Cut the hoses to the required length. Then, attach the nozzles to the irrigation system. Install the plug. Now, the automatic irrigation system is ready for us, and the plants will get rain. Now let's get dressed and go to the forest. Our goal is to find and collect moss. Forest moss. The important thing is to hurry before the flies get to it. Moss is not only decorative, but it also provides shelter for moisture-loving fauna. As for the flora, we have what we need to start the terrarium. There are different types of tropical plants, including the forest moss that we collected. We also bought moss. There are also carnivorous plants, which you may have seen in previous videos. While planting the plants, we will start the waterfall to begin the washing process. This will remove all the dust, dirt, and poorly glued sand and stones. Now comes the moment of truth. The first start. The water started flowing, bringing with it a lot of dirt. It turned out a little differently than we planned, but everything is fine starting with the second stone. The cascade itself looks beautiful. The bowl looks beautiful too. It fills up in the middle and then flows into the aquarium in a stream and a multitude of droplets. In my opinion, it looks dignified and beautiful. If anyone hasn't pressed the like button yet, now is the time. Without leaving the waterfall, we start inserting forest moss into nearby crevices. It will always be moist here, so it should take root. Moss also grows well on rocks and trees. Next, we plant a plant called Pilea depressa. I like this plant because you only need to buy one, but you can divide it into 2 and put them in different places. That's what we did. It's a climbing plant that we'll put on the walls of our vertical terrarium. Another creeping plant dried up on the way here. It's a Ficus pumila. I don't know if it will take root, but it's worth a try. Time will tell. Another good plant is the Philodendron niderae. We divided it into 2 parts. We planted one near the aquarium and the other near the cave. It's a climbing plant that we will guide along a branch. We will continue planting near the waterfall. Here, we will plant a Venus flytrap, also known as Dionea muscipula. Hopefully, it won't be upset that we disturbed it by taking it out of the pot and transplanting it to a new place. On the right wall, we planted Cryptanthus. This beautiful red plant will clearly stand out in the terrarium's overall landscape. Now, let's move on to the bottom of the terrarium. There's a reason we spent so much time on the soil. Nephrolepis will grow on the hill in the corner near the cave. It's the most popular and familiar type of fern. Like all tropical plants, it loves moisture, but not stagnant water. This makes the hill the perfect place for it. Next to it, we will plant asparagus. This large, tree-shaped plant belongs to the asparagus family. This plant, with its beautiful leaves, is called Maranta. Like all large plants, it should be planted in the background. The medium-sized carnivorous plant Sarracenia is ideal for the middle ground. Next are 2 epiphytic plants. Tillandsia usneoides is a plant completely devoid of roots. It belongs to the aerophytic plant family. It gets moisture from the air. It clings to trees with thin tendrils to get nutrients from them. It has a very tropical appearance. Another one is the Tillandsia gardneri. It has small roots that are only needed to attach it to a tree. For now, we have secured them with string. It's cool when plants grow from a tree. The waterfall continues to wash away dirt, sand, and anything else that was poorly placed. We will plant Cameroon moss near the waterfall. We will put some in the bowl where there is always water. We'll put a little more where the spring begins. We will also place some on the sides. We will also place some near the cash stone. Let's hope it takes root. This is my Chrysanthemum species, Monte Carlo. It is a ground cover plant used for algae in aquariums, but can also take root on land in a humid environment. It is planted in the foreground. I hope it likes our conditions and grows well. Now that everything is ready, we installed the front glass. There are rubber seals around the edges to prevent the glass from hitting the glass when closing. The last thing left to do before starting is to wash the viewing glass, inside and out. And now, the moment we've all been waiting for, the launch of the terrarium and the culmination of all our efforts. The launch of the terrarium, the mega terrarium, the tropical terrarium, where there are 2 suns in the sky. It rains heavily and fog settles, further humidifying the air. Nearby, a waterfall flows. Work on the terrarium has just begun, by the way. Each of you can help populate it. Suggest who or what to include. We will definitely consider the most interesting suggestions and bring them to life. Now, without further ado, I invite you to enjoy this splendor. We still have a lot of work ahead of us, but let the fauna move in. I hope our efforts are worthy of your subscription. That's all for now. Bye-bye.